Welcome to This Week in Agriculture, a presentation of the Ministry of Agriculture and brought to you in association with the various agencies of that ministry. I'm your producer and host, Christopher Holder. On this week's presentation, we focus on the efforts of our farmers for the first rice crop of 2020, and it's good news coming out of the rice sector. Our rice farmers have again excelled. They've done exceptionally well, despite all the COVID-19 measures in place to ensure that we all protect ourselves from becoming infected. So our farmers have observed all those measures, and they have still come out ahead in this first crop presentation. Total paddy production of 534,000 tons, and of course they have improved in general. Their yield has gone up, their productivity per acre, per hectare if you like, has gone up, and it's all part of their becoming more aware of the importance of maximizing yield with whatever acreage you have. So we'll hear all about that in this week's presentation, but not only the performance of our farmers, we will also hear about our export figures. Earnings from exports of rice for the first part of the year has also gone up. We've seen an increase in the value-added exports of rice and rice products, and so bigger earnings. This has been a trend that has been ongoing. Farmers have been doing better in the field because they're paying more attention to their crops. The producers are paying more attention to adding value before they export. You know, previously millers exported paddy, they exported cargo, which is just the first process. You put the paddy through where you just shell the hull and so on, and then you send it out as cargo. But now they're milling it into rice, but not only that, there's packaging rice and sending it out, and all that is attracting higher value for those exports. The Venezuelan market continues to grow. You know, it was lost in 2015. A number of factors contributed to that, but our private millers and private businessmen have gone after that market and have been able to secure that market, and every quarter we see those numbers going up. So we'll hear all about it in this week's presentation of This Week in Agriculture, produced for television by Matrix Video Productions and Advertising, based in East Berbice. We will be back after these messages. The Guyana Rice Development Board is reminding all farmers that an integrated pest management program is the best way to ensure a successful, high-yielding crop. Integrated Pest Management, or IPM, is the use of several compatible control strategies to suppress a pest. IPM is for the management of all insect pests and snails or even weeds, whether it's early season, mid-season, or late season. This program begins at land preparation and involves the following key steps. After proper tillage, leave land exposed to sun for a few days to allow for pests in the soil to be exposed to natural predators, as well as to allow for degradation of any debris there. Proper land leveling should also be ensured. Farmers should adopt uniform times of sowing. Sowing en bloc during the April, May, and November, December periods of the year. All farmers should treat their seed before sowing, providing insect pest protection to the young rice plants for up to 30 days. Ensure proper water management for the first 40 days of the crop. Ensure effective monitoring of the crop from the vegetative stage for the presence of paddy bugs or other pests. This will aid the farmer in determining the right time to apply the appropriate insecticide to kill the paddy bugs. A message from the Guyana Rice Development Board, Ministry of Agriculture. The ozone unit of the Hydromet Service is advising members of the public that it is hazardous to the environment to carelessly dispose of air-conditioned units, refrigerators, and freezers without first having them drained of chlorofluorocarbons, CFCs, and hydrochlorofluorocarbons, or HCFCs, the gases that causes the equipment to cool and freeze. These substances, when released into the atmosphere, contributes to the destruction of the protective ozone layer and also have global warming potential. Before dumping old or damaged CFC or HCFC equipment, consumers are advised to contact a licensed technician to safely remove the coolant from the equipment before disposal. A message from the Hydromet Service, Ministry of Agriculture.
Here's an important notice. Do you know that it is illegal to import, store, distribute, sell, and purchase antibiotics without a license or prescription, as the case may be? According to the Antibiotic Act of 1952, owners of livestock and other animals are not permitted to purchase and use antibiotics unless prescribed by a veterinarian. It should be noted that the misuse of antibiotics could result in the development of resistance to the very antibiotics, which in turn will pose health risk to the animal and to humans. The GLDA advises that farmers should not administer antibiotics to animals unless prescribed by a veterinarian. Non-compliance with this act will result in fines and imprisonment. A message from the Ghana Livestock Development Authority, Ministry of Agriculture.
This is what a responsible, health-conscious person should be wearing when using agrochemicals on the farm. Wearing the proper protective equipment guards users of pesticides and other harmful chemicals from the cumulative effects of consistent exposure over a period of time. In the short term, exposure can result in skin or eye irritation, rashes, burns, respiratory problems, etc. Long-term results of exposure to harmful chemicals include certain types of cancers, birth defects, etc. Ensure you wear the proper protective equipment when applying pesticides. A message from the Pesticides and Toxic Chemicals Control Board, Ministry of Agriculture. Despite Guyana's 154 confirmed cases of COVID-19, 12 deaths and a rash of measures to mitigate against the spread of the virus here, Guyana's rice farmers have defied the odds, racking up another outstanding rice harvest for the first crop 2020. With over 500,000 tons of paddy produced, with 98% of the crop harvested, Guyana's farmers continue to consistently push the envelope in terms of increasing their yields per acre, with yields for the first crop reflecting the upward trend started with the introduction of the GRDB's 6-point plan. At the beginning of the crop, farmers had sown a total of 92,000 hectares, but because of a number of factors, only 91,000 hectares were harvested, representing the 98% harvested to date. The remaining 200 hectares is being harvested this week. A total of 676 hectares of rice was lost during the vegetative stages of the crop due to a number of factors that included difficulty sourcing irrigation water in a timely manner. Despite all these factors, farmers have again triumphed against the odds, realizing what GRDB's General Manager Nizam Hassan describes as an excellent first crop performance.
Excellent performance in the first crop of 2020. 524,000 tons of paddy produced already, with 98% of the crop harvested, with Region 2 producing 74,000 tons of paddy, Region 3, 42,000, Region 4, 26,000. Region 4 is the smallest producing region. Region 5, 236,000 tons of paddy, and Region 6, 156,000 tons of paddy. So excellent performance despite the challenges that we've experienced in Guyana with regards to the pandemic, the current pandemic, and despite the challenges that has been experienced globally.
Many farmers were affected by the current rainfall, which delayed harvesting. Others harvested paddy with a high percentage of green paddy, resulting in poor returns at the mill. But the continuing success story is the increasing productivity of Guyana's farmers, who have been paying more attention to their agronomic practices at every stage of the crop. This was in association with the GRDB's extension staff, who have worked shoulder to shoulder with them in pursuance of a successful crop every time.
The industry continues to perform well in terms of productivity. The national average for the first crop has been 5.9 tons per hectare. With regards to the performance of the individual regions, in Region 2 is 5.4 tons per hectare, Region 3 5.3 tons per hectare, Region 4, 7 tons per hectare. Region 5, 5.9 tons per hectare. And Region 6, 6.2 tons per hectare. So in terms of the average, we've performed at 5.9 tons per hectare, which is well because it's really showing that with the current production, farmers are getting greater yield planting their acreages and then greater performance.
According to the GRDB General Manager, the extension staff have managed to execute 80% of the work program for the first half of the year, despite the challenges posed to staff in the execution of their mandate due to measures implemented to safeguard against exposure to COVID-19.
We've had some challenges towards the end of the first crop, and this was caused because of the COVID pandemic. But notwithstanding and despite those challenges, we were able to achieve a great percentage of what we set out to do. We've had our field schools prior to COVID and the measures being put in place in Guyana. And as such, we've had a number of training sessions, we've had a number of one-on-one sessions. And I have to say that notwithstanding, we continue to have one-on-one sessions. As a matter of fact, for the month of May, we've had over 265 contacts and training sessions with farmers. Training them on a range of agronomic practices with regards to preparation for the second crop, especially seed treatment. We are seeing that farmers are responding to the need for seed treatment. As we've said in earlier discussions with farmers and on programs such as this one, we've said that once farmers engage in early, not early, but with seed treatment, it helps with addressing the issue of the early season pests. And we're seeing that more and more farmers are coming on board. And actually, we want to congratulate the farmers who are doing so and encourage the farmers who have not done so to do so. Because as you know, we have expanded the range of the points in which we are talking about in terms of agronomic practices for paddy production. So we've moved beyond the 6-point practice to a 10-point practice, and which is including now things like seed treatment. Seed treatment helps to address the early season pests. It helps to give the plant that vigor that it needs in the early 20 days or so for good standing in the field.
Of course, to begin with, farmers must ensure that seeds being treated are always those certified by the GRDB. Mr. Hassan explained that the GRDB has been consistently upgrading its seed production facilities, which has been producing some 15,000 bags of seed paddy per crop. Not only does the GRDB produce seed paddy for farmers, it has contracted several farmers across the rice-growing belt to produce seed paddy in their fields. This is, of course, closely supervised by the entity's extension staff.
So, what goes hand in hand with proper seed treatment is the use of quality seeds in paddy production. And over the years, the board has been producing seeds, quality seeds. We have worked with farmers over the years also in producing seeds. So much so that over the last few cropping seasons, we are now producing at the board about 15,000 bags per seed, and we have seed producers who produce an equivalent amount because we supply seeds at, let's say, at the C1 level, and then those farmers then produce seeds that are supplied to the industry. Notwithstanding that, outside of that effort, we also have a diversified seed production program, which we are working with farmers across the regions into producing seeds that can be used in the industry.
Looking ahead, Mr. Hassan is optimistic of a continuation of the upward trends in terms of production and productivity of Guyana's rice farmers, who have already begun preparations for the second crop, with some having already completed sowing.
In terms of our preparation for the second crop, so far it's doing well, despite the challenges of the global pandemic, COVID-19. we project that we will continue to have the 92,000 plus hectares being sown. At the end of May, we've had over 25,000 hectares already prepared, completed, and some of it has been sown already. So we don't see any reduction at all in the sowing of paddy for the second crop 2020.
In terms of performance by region, regions 5 and 6 continue to lead the way with a combined total of 6.1 million bags of paddy, or 391,573 metric tons of paddy, at an average yield of 5.84 tons per hectare. Farmers at Cane Grove continue to lead the way in terms of yield per hectare, maintaining the 7 tons per hectare recorded in each of the last 3 crops. Turning our attention to rice exports for the period January to May 2020, we see that earnings from the export of this commodity has again increased as compared with the same period last year, registering a 14% increase over the period January to May 2019. This increase in earnings also reflect increased exports, but as you will hear, not the traditional export of raw paddy and rice. The export of packaged rice and other value-added rice exports are now making a big impact.
The industry continues its excellent performance as we've seen over the years in terms of exports. We've done 242,812 tons of export, valued at $99 million US, compared to 215,330 tons, valued at $87 million US for a corresponding period in 2019. With regards, now this is reflected, I should say, especially in the export of packaged products. We're moving away from more the bulk and the 100-pound packaged bags into more retail-ready packaging in terms of our exports. So with regards to packaged parboiled rice, we've exported 3,705 tons in 2019 compared to 5,535 tons in 2020. And our packaged white rice, which has really shown an astronomical jump, I should say, it has moved from 6,316 tons in 2019 to 47,484 tons in 2020. This definitely augurs well for the industry in the country because it means that more effort has gone into preparing the packaged rice. It meant that more employment was created and essentially it's augured well.
Guyana's exports of rice and rice products has seen an increase in volume to all of its markets, even as other grains around the world report negative impacts from the global pandemic.
In terms of our exports by blocks, let's say CARICOM, European Union, Latin America, North America, and so on, we've shown positive growth in all of the areas. Overall, as I mentioned earlier, we did a 13% increase when period for period was compared. With respect to CARICOM, we've had a 9% increase in the exports. In 2020, we did 32,897 tons, valued at $16.9 million, compared to 30,246 tons, valued at $15.1 million US. With regards to our exports to Europe, that has increased by 7% when the two periods are compared, and I'm referring to January to May for the 2 years. We did 143,644 tons, valued at $52.5 million for 2020, compared to 133,773 tons, valued at $47.5 million for 2019. With regards to our export to Latin American countries, that has increased by 26%. In 2020, we did 64,303 tons, valued at $29 million US, compared to 51,234 tons, valued at $24.2 million US. With regards to our export to North America, primarily the United States, we exported only 76 tons in 2019, but in 2020 we've exported 1,891 tons. And so that has seen really an astronomical increase in terms of percentage. Is over 2,000% that the increase is. So exports and period for period compared, we've done, and the industry has performed well as was expected.
Another market that continues to show promise is the Venezuelan market, which in 2015 had been all but lost to Guyana. However, through the efforts of local entrepreneurs, the trade in rice and rice products to Venezuela has been revived and the numbers continue to grow. For the period January to May 2020, exports to Venezuela amounted to 51,621 tons, valued at $25.6 million US dollars. This is a 48% increase in exports to that country, period for period. Throughout the first crop, millers have been paying farmers between $2,500 to $3,000 a bag of paddy supplied to the mill. A total of 8.4 million bags of paddy were supplied to millers by farmers at an average value of 21 billion Guyana dollars. So what is the global outlook for the trade in rice? Mr. Hassan says the prognosis is good. Guyana's farmers and millers can do well.
Rice continues to perform well globally. Matter of fact, it's the only grain that is doing so. We've seen that the export, the demand, and the consumption of rice, the trade of rice internationally has remained, as a matter of fact, has increased slightly. Prices have moved up also, and countries are responding to the demands of the market. In some countries, there have been increases in production. We have seen that Guyana has been able to maintain its production and increase its export. So despite the challenges that have been experienced globally with regards to COVID-19, countries are responding positively. The rice industry globally is responding positively.
Over the past 5 months, the GRDB's research team has been hard at work within the realities of the mitigating measures of COVID-19. They have so far completed a significant portion of their work program for the period January to May 2020. According to GRDB's General Manager Nizam Hassan, this work will, among other things, realize the probable release of a new, higher-yielding, disease-resistant rice variety before the end of this year.
With regards to the individual departments, I'll start with plant breeding. It intends to execute its full program in terms of creating variability, maintaining the rice genetics by having the breeding nurseries, continuing the observational trials, and so on. Well, let's move to, with regards to, I think, what our stakeholders, especially our farmers, would be more interested in, and that is the newer varieties. At the moment, we are conducting on-farm trials in 29 farmers' fields across the region. And once we can have the desired result, it is possible that we will have another variety to release at the end of this second crop. So research continues, notwithstanding the challenges of the measures being implemented with regards to COVID-19. With regards to our agronomic program, that continues. We continue to do research in terms of farmers' fields and at the research station to further improve on the practices that we are recommending to farmers. With regards to our entomology program, we continue to do research at farmers' fields especially, but also in the research station with regards to especially addressing the issue of the paddy bug. As you know, paddy bug is a bug of economic significance. It really causes a lot of damages should it get widespread. So we have that ongoing program where we're constantly researching paddy bugs and what measures can be put in place to address or minimize the incidence of paddy bug. We can't eliminate paddy bugs, but we can minimize the incidences of paddy bug. With regards to our pathology program, that continues also. We've managed to maintain blast flea resistance from a number of our varieties, especially the varieties that are commercially grown. We've not heard for a number of years of blast being one of the diseases that is affecting rice production. And that is because of the research work that is being done to maintain the purity of the varieties that are being released. With regards to our recent efforts in terms of downstream processing, post-harvest handling, value-added production from rice, after the rice is produced, what other products that are being prepared, we have had some of our research work being minimized or reduced or being put on a hold. And as an example, I'll use the one where we have to speak with and do testing with consumers or potential consumers. We've decided, because of the distancing, social distancing, and because of the efforts of not being in touch with a lot of the persons on a face-to-face basis, that we will just put that on hold. But with regards to testing for gluten-free products and research work in developing more value-added products from rice, that is continuing.
The ozone unit of the Hydromet Service is advising members of the public that it is hazardous to the environment to carelessly dispose of air-conditioned units, refrigerators, and freezers without first having them drained of chlorofluorocarbons, CFCs, and hydrochlorofluorocarbons, or HCFCs, the gases that causes the equipment to cool and freeze. These substances, when released into the atmosphere, contributes to the destruction of the protective ozone layer and also have global warming potential. Before dumping old or damaged CFC or HCFC equipment, consumers are advised to contact a licensed technician to safely remove the coolant from the equipment before disposal. A message from the Hydromet Service, Ministry of Agriculture. The control of red rice through careful management of water levels in your rice field for the first 40 days is critical to your yield at the end of the crop. Water acts as an agent to control red rice and even other grass weeds at a depth of 4 inches. With proper land preparation and leveling established, maintaining a light flood continuously until the canopy is fully developed will suppress red rice establishment. Leaving the land exposed for any length of time will give weeds an ample chance to germinate and infest the field. Panicle cutting should be done prior to shattering. The second cutting exercise should be conducted at 20 days to control panicle regrowth. Water management is one of 3 critical interventions for the effective control of red rice. A message from the Guyana Rice Development Board, Ministry of Agriculture. Well, that's all the time we have on this week's edition of This Week in Agriculture, a presentation of the Communications Unit, Ministry of Agriculture. We certainly want to congratulate all our farmers on the exceptional showing for this first crop. Despite your challenges, despite the problems you've had, we know that you're going back to the crop with much vigor and enthusiasm, and you will endeavor to have even higher yields. Our millers too ought to be congratulated. All our producers who are adding value. We want to do this across the board. We want to see value added to the exports of everything, timber, coconuts, whatever it is you're exporting that we produce in the agriculture sector. We want to see value added to those produce and products. All right? So the future beckons. The markets are alive and they're looking to us to satisfy those markets. All right? So put your shoulders to the wheel and let's get going. Until next time, then, I'm Christopher Holder on behalf of the entire production team saying so long. See you around.